welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 10-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. I'll be here all MLB DFS season long breaking down these MLB DFS slates to help you guys become better MLB DFS players. Hope you guys win some money night in and night out, day in and day out. We got some day baseball today, Sunday slate. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, fan favorite segment on this channel. And if you are interested in some further content from me, I do offer a premium package that's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups, as well as my cheat sheet, power rankings, and the Discord, which is really starting to become more popular over there, which I'm happy about. Some more interaction going on in the Discord. You know, get to know some people in the KJK DFS community, be able to help each other out. And then, of course, I'm always popping in there, helping out people as much as possible. I tend to think I've been getting to, pretty much all the questions. If not, that is my goal. So you get direct access to me via that. And yeah, good stuff going on there. Good stuff for the slate today. So let's go ahead and start breaking down this one. And as always, I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the top guy on the slate today is going to be Mr. Corbin Burnes, taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Comes in with a 37.1% K overall, a 16.2 swinging strike rate, 25.9% hard contact rate. Really good stuff across the board. Has a 37.9% K rate against righties and a 36.4% K rate against lefties. So, you're not going to complain about that at all. 35+% K rate against both sides of the plate. Will definitely get the job done. You get to take on a Cincinnati Reds team today that is a pretty good lineup up and down, but they definitely do have their fair share of strikeouts. So Corbin Burnes, 11-2 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at $10K. Is definitely going to be, one of the best options on this slate today. Definitely have a lot of interest in him. Second on us, we got Carlos Rodon taking on the Houston Astros. He also has been very good as far as K rate is concerned. He has a 36.7% K rate against righties and a 33.8% K rate against lefties. Very good ground ball, fly ball stuff across the board. The problem is he's taking on a Houston Astros team tonight that really does not strike out. I don't like targeting these guys at all. I definitely do not like, trying to get my highest upside performance out of a guy facing the Houston Astros. So when you're factoring in that, he's not exactly going to be my favorite option on the slate today. We have Max Scherzer taking on the San Diego Padres, 35.5% K overall, 16.8 swing strike rate, 35.9% K rate against righties, and a 35.2% K rate against lefties. Another guy with 35+% K rate against both sides of the plate. And another guy with a less than ideal matchup, unfortunately, taking on the San Diego Padres. They do have a very good lineup up and down. They only have a four-run implied total, but it is also very good hitting weather out here in Washington today. 83 degrees with 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center. So, that's going to be a little bit scary as far as targeting him. And, yeah, that's all I can say on that forefront. The Padres definitely do have a decent amount of strikeout rate overall, in comparison to like Houston, but even then they don't really strike out a lot. It's also a very tough matchup, especially when we have the next two guys that we're going to talk about. With Zach Wheeler's taking on the Miami Marlins, much better matchup than any of the ones we've discussed so far. He has a 30.8% K overall, a 12.7 swinging strike rate, 28.3% K rate against righties, and a 33.1% K rate against lefties. Does a very, very good job of keeping the ball on the ground. Does not give up a lot of hard contact. Does not, fork up a lot of walks as well. So Wheeler, when you're factoring all this stuff, might be the top option on the slate today. It is in Philadelphia, which is less than ideal from a pitching environment aspect. Pulling up the chart that I always like to show you guys as far as Philly's concerned. You can see there are a lot of home runs given up in Philly in Citizens Bank Park. And for that reason, that's a little bit of a knock on him, but I think overall, we already mentioned it. I mean, by far the greatest matchup, this Miami squad does strike out quite a bit. They're not nearly as imposing of a threat as some of these teams we've talked about so far, like the Reds or the Padres or the Astros. So Wheeler definitely top of mind as far as interest today. Sonny Gray taking on the Milwaukee Brewers, is a team that strikes out a bunch. He is returning off the IL with a rib injury. He's slated to start, though, and it was last July 8th he landed. And he should be able to return after spending the minimal time on the shelf. So I tend to think, he's going to be fine to go as far as workload is concerned. Even says he should face limited workload restrictions, if anything, maybe, 10 pitches or so, that kind of thing. But taking on a Milwaukee squad that strikes out a bunch today, he's also going to be another guy that actually, comes in with a good matchup. And for that reason, I'm definitely going to like him. 30.2% carry overall, a 26.1% carry against righties, and a 34.4% carry against lefties. So we actually do prefer to target him against left-handed heavy lineups as far as a strikeout upside aspect, if at all possible. And he definitely gets taking on the Milwaukee Brewers today. Colton Wong, Christian Yelich, Omar Narvaez, Jace Peterson, Jackie Bradley. A lot of lefties to be going around in that lineup. And yeah, as mentioned, a lot easier matchup than some of these other ones we talked about. So Sonny Gray, definitely a good option today. Then once we get past him, we do have Joe Musgrove taking on. We have Carlos Hernandez taking on the Baltimore Orioles. 30% carry overall, 14.1 swing strike rate, 25.9% carry against righties, and a 35.7% carry against lefties. Decent stuff across the board. The problem with him really is just going to be a workload restriction thing. Looking at his data, for the most part, he is a relief pitcher. So he's going to start, and I mean, I don't expect him to have many pitches. You can see 12 appearances, none of them have been a start. He did make 3 starts in 2020. But other than that, as far as, his leash and how many pitches he's actually going to throw, I'm not feeling too good about it. So he's just a opener as far as I'm concerned. Joe Musgrove taking on the Washington Nationals is the next guy I wanted to talk about. 29.1% carry overall, 12.9 swing strike rate, 29.6% carry against righties, and 28.8% carry against lefties. He's also a guy with a bunch of strikeout upside. Taking on a Washington squad today that definitely can strike out at times. So Musgrove is another guy that you really have to be looking at. And then once we get past him, the options are going to be pretty diverse here on this slate today. I mean, you have the top, of course, these guys. I mean, Corbin Burns, 35% plus carry against both sides of the plate. The same thing for Max Scherzer. I mean, those guys are obviously elite options. But then you also have Taijuan Walker taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is a much easier matchup. We already talked about, Sonny Gray and Zach Wheeler. We have Rich Hill taking on Atlanta, who does strike out quite a bit against left-handed pitching. It's a little bit scary for me to really go in there. Honestly, I'm not too interested. Framber Valdez taking on the Chicago White Sox as a team that is striking out quite a bit as well. He does have good ground ball, fly ball stuff. His strikeout rate isn't the highest, but he does do a very good job of keeping the ball on the ground, pitching good real-life ball games. And the Chicago White Sox could boost up his K rate today. Ryu taking on Texas is a great matchup. Drew Smyly taking on the Rays is a great matchup from the aspect of both of these teams strike out a bunch against left-handed pitching. Both of these pitchers that I just mentioned don't really have the highest K rate, but it's really the matchup that you're talking about here. I mean, the Rangers are a team we've been targeting all year long as far as strikeouts are concerned. The Rays are a team we've been targeting all year long with left-handed pitching. So, that would be the reason that I'm really interested in those guys. And then lastly, we do have J.A. Happ taking on the Detroit Tigers. And he has been absolutely terrible all season long. He has a terrible K rate, but the Detroit lineup also does have, a pretty bad lineup as well. So if you wanted to go there, I wouldn't call you crazy at all. And I do think that, he could be a solid relief option based upon the matchup. But that is all for pitching. With that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. As always, I'd like to go ahead and sort my sheet by Sierra, skill, interactive ERA. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far and how good he's expected to be in the future. And as far as this year, Wade LeBlanc taking on the San Francisco Giants has been terrible. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's terrible. Hard contact stuff terrible. Doesn't strike anyone out. He gives up a 493 slugging to righties, a 500 slugging to lefties. Definitely worse against righties, but really not good against both sides of the plate. But we do prefer to target him with some right-handed power if at all possible. Looking at the San Francisco Giants lineup up and down: Austin Slater, Donovan Solano, Darren Ruff, Wilmer Flores, Kirk Casale in the middle of that order. All those guys hit left-handed pitching very well. So for that reason, I do definitely think you could be targeting them today. Not the most exciting lineup, as far as how they match up with them. But those guys specifically really do have a great spot here. Braxton Garrett taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is not good. As far as his hard contact stuff, he hasn't been the worst in the world. Really what's been biting him is left-handed hitting. He only gives up a 394 slugging to righties. The fly ball stuff's actually pretty good against lefties. The fly ball stuff, his fly ball stuff isn't terrible. We're only dealing with 11 innings pitch sample sets. Keep that in mind. So we're looking at the slugging, a 556 slugging to lefties, a 501 WOBA. And that's going to be an issue for him. So definitely the Philadelphia Phillies lefties, which of course Bryce Harper is going to be a tremendous option on the slate today. And then Didi Gregorius, Travis Janikowski. And as far as a full stack is concerned, I'm not concerned either. And then there's also conflicting reports that could be Nick Needers. So sorry, I paused there for a second. But regardless, both these guys really aren't good. I think the Philadelphia Phillies stack's really going to be looking good today. And then as mentioned, 82 degrees, 10 mile an hour winds blowing out, and a great hitting environment there. So Matt Harvey taking on the Kansas City Royals. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is good. A 551 slugging up to righties. A 474 slugging given up to lefties. Does a much better job of keeping the ball on the ground to righties than he does lefties. So those lefties are really the ones that I prefer to target against him if all possible. But let's be honest, it's not like he's that great against righties either. So I think both are in play here. The Royals do have a 5.25 implied run total. And I definitely like to stack up and down Whit Merrifield, Carlos Santana, Salvador Perez, Andrew Benintendi, Hunter Dozier, Jorge Soler. Can definitely be looking to those Kansas City Royals today for sure. Jay Happ taking on Detroit. Very easy guy to break down. Very good against lefties. Very bad against righties. Dreadful against righties. He gives a 577 slugging to right-handed hitting, a 392 WOBA. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is terrible, an 18.3% K rate. So any sort of right-handed power is where we want to go with him. Detroit definitely has a few bats that really rake lefties. Jonathan Scope, Eric Hasse, Miguel Cabrera, Jaime Candelario, Jake Rogers at the bottom of the order really matches off left-handed pitching. Then Robbie Grossman at the top of the order has been one of the best hitters in the league quietly all season long. So you can go there if you'd like to. Drew Smyly taking on the Tampa Bay Rays is another guy that gets up a lot of hard contact. The Rays have been terrible. We're looking to target them with right-handed power as far as Drew Smyly is concerned. My favorite option in this lineup by far would be Randy Arozarena in the 4 spot. You can definitely target any other righties. I'm not getting too excited. And then Mike Zunino at the bottom of the order in the catcher spot is a guy that I really do enjoy targeting at the left-handed pitching as well. So as far as a catcher, if you really need a salary relief option or just a catcher overall, I would promote Zunino for sure. We got Willie Peralta taking on the Minnesota Twins. Very good against righties, not so good against lefties. So far on the season, he gives up a 465 slugging to lefties, a 45.7% hard contact rate, so I'm not worried about targeting him at all when it comes to left-handed pitching. Righties, he really doesn't scare me that much either. I mean, this guy's track record really isn't good. The Detroit bullpen's really bad, but we do know he has an extensive period of being bad against left-handed hitting as is, so if I'm really targeting this team, I do prefer the lefties for sure. Trevor Larnach, Alex Kirilloff, Jorge Polanco, Max Kepler. You got Luis Arias at the bottom of the order, and then the top of the order. And then, of course, you can definitely run out your stacks with Josh Johnson and Nelson Cruz. Both a bunch of power and both hit from the right-hand side of the plate, but still got to like them. Rich Hill taking on Atlanta. Very easy to break him down as well. You want to target him with right-handed power. Very good against lefties, not so good against righties. So if I'm looking to target the Atlanta Braves today, it's really that simple. Dansby Swanson, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Orlando Arcia, Heredia, Kevin Smith. Those righties really crack down on targeting them. You could, of course, put the lefties in to make your lineup a little bit different with guys like Jock Peterson and Freddie Freeman. No issues with you doing that. Johnny Cueto is a guy that doesn't really scare us at all. The St. Louis Cardinals aren't in the best hitting environment, though, in St. Louis, which is the unfortunate part. They do have a 4.1 implied run total, but pulling up the chart here as far as St. Louis and a hitting environment, not really the best ballpark I like to target in Busch Stadium. A lot of red and yellow going on. So for that reason, I mean, I'm not getting all too excited to target the stack. They could go out there and score quite a few runs off him. I mean, from a contrarian aspect, he gives a 462 slugging to righties, a 507 slugging to lefties. You really do prefer to target him with left-handed bats. So Dylan Carlson is really the only bat outside of Tommy Edwin that's a left-handed batter, and then the rest are all righties. So yeah, I don't know. They could definitely go off. I wouldn't dismiss them. I'd have to dig into some pitch data. If I found that they really profile well against his pitches, that's when my interest would really go up. But from a first glance aspect, not really all too intrigued there. And then once we get past them, the rest of the way, honestly, a lot of these guys struggle against right-handed hitting the rest of the way out. Carlos Hernandez taking on the Baltimore Orioles, I mentioned, is a guy that really struggles against right-handed hitting. So the Baltimore Orioles righties in Austin Hayes, Trans Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle, Ramon Urias are really the ones I want to target. Pedro Severino, Kevin Gutierrez. But, most notably, Austin Hayes, Mancini, Mountcastle in the middle of that order are the ones that are going to be intriguing me if I'm going to that stack. Colby Allard, very similar, does struggle against right-handed hitting. Against lefties, he is very good. Ground ball, fly ball stuff isn't the greatest against righties. He gets up a 413 slugging, and he's taking on a Toronto Blue Jays team today that, as we know, is very loaded with right-handed bats. Looking at the Toronto lineup up and down, you have Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, Randall Grichuk, Lourdes Gurriel, Espinal, and Jansen, literally all righties. Going to be a very tough matchup for Colby Allard. 72 degrees in Toronto in the old Buffalo ballpark there, so definitely can stack up those Blue Jays. I mean, you can stack up the Blue Jays every single slate, so it's like it doesn't take that's not a hot take on my part at all, but I mean, it's just a great spot for them specifically when you're breaking down that they're all right-handed heavy as well. JT Brubaker, same story applies to him. Very bad against righties. Against lefties, I don't like targeting nearly as much. So the New York Mets righties, really going to like those guys today. It's in PNC Park, which is not the best hitting environment as far as Pittsburgh's concerned. Pulling up that diagram, you can see it is going to be very hard getting the ball out here. But if I am picking one bat, it would be Pete Alonso, of course, the right-handed bat that can really hit it anywhere. But then you do have JD Davis as well. He hit a bomb last night. James McCann. If you want to go to those guys today as one-offs or stack them up, I want to call you crazy, and then that's when things get really not that interesting, to be honest. Max Scherzer, I will say, from a contrarian aspect, does give up a lot of ground, does give up a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact, specifically against right-handed hitting. At 422 slugging given up, he does strike out a bunch. But if you want to get contrarian, the San Diego Padres righties, I think, could be intriguing, very low on bats. So Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Tommy Pham, Will Myers could be a sneaky stack that could pay off big for you in tournaments. And with that being said, before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Eric Haas taking on J.A. Happ, a guy that really struggles against right-handed power. A 577 slug, giving up 37.6% hard contact rate, 392 WOBA. Eric Haas, a name that many casual fans may not know, but the guy absolutely rakes off left-handed pitching on the season of 500 ISO against lefties. And when breaking down what Happ throws, he's in for some trouble here, taking on Haas today. On average, really reliant on the fastball. 58% of the time he goes to that fastball. It's about 91 miles an hour on average, and Haas features a 500 ISO with a 467 WOBA against that pitch, followed by the slider about 17% of the time that Happ throws, also a pitch that Haas crushes. A 364 ISO with a 556 CX WOBA off left-handed pitching, and the sinker, 14% of the time Happ will go to that pitch, and Haas crushes that pitch as well. A 667 ISO with a 719 WOBA. Love this spot for Eric Haas. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Eric Haas, get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. Wish you guys all the best of luck today, and we will see you in the next one.